At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Good morning, everyone. It's your host, Priscilla Nyenator. Welcome to another transformative episode of A New Day, proudly partnering with Focus on Liberia, your trusted online TV. Our mandate on this podcast is to foster insightful dialogues centered around gender equality and gender justice that remain crucial to the fabric of our societies. We believe in the power of dialogue and the potential of shared wisdom. By drawing on the strength of healthy traditional values and systems, as well as religious principles that promote respect and love, incorporating practical global frameworks that champion equal rights. We hope to build a comprehensive approach for protecting the rights of women and girls. Our conversations extend beyond naming the problems. It extends to identifying challenges and brainstorming strategies that can effect meaningful change for social reform in a society that celebrates, not suppresses, the diversity and strength of all its members. Hence, we welcome you to a new day, a day where each conversation brings us closer to a society devoid of impunity, a society that respects and upholds the human rights of women and girls, gender non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. We are on a journey toward a new world of social reform, and we are delighted to have you join us. A New Day also curates many women's stories too, from everyday heroes overcoming adversity to high profile figures leaving an indelible mark on society. This archive of triumphs, struggles, resilience, and progress illuminates the multifaceted experiences of women, serving as a source of inspiration and celebration for women across all walks of life. So, people, as the sun is blazing right now in sunny Arizona, on this new day here at Focus on Liberia, from an Arizona studio in Phoenix, we invite you to lean in, listen, and learn as we dissect today's topic on gender equality and justice. Thank you for choosing to start your day with us on this enlightening edition. Guess what? In today's episode, we will be in conversation with Mrs. Melissa Chea-Annan, a renowned figure in Liberian journalism who has paved the way for many women in a profession with a wealth of experience, including roles as the former editor of the Inquirer newspaper and the former vice president of the Press Union of Liberia, PUL. She has made significant strides as a journalist in the country. Starting her career as a sole female reporter at the Inquirer in 1997, Melissa became the paper's first female editor and later the PUL's first female assistant secretary general, eventually becoming its vice president. Melissa is also a 2012-2013 Hubert Humphrey Fulbright Scholar, studying communication and leadership at the University of Maryland, College Park, where she stayed, and then she didn't forget about me. Her journalistic experience extends beyond Liberia, having also served as a visiting journalist at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And she's going to tell us why she chose the Philadelphia Inquirer for her professional affiliation. Um, so Melissa also covered the Liberian presidency, and while she was doing that, she reported on former President Charles Taylor, 1999 to 2003, and former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf from 2009 until she relocated to the US. In addition to politics, Melissa has reported on the Ministry of National Defense, education, religion, and more and more. From 2007 to 2014, she served as a correspondent for the Nordic News Online based in Sweden and the Economic Community of West African States in Liberia. Melissa has traveled to over 50 countries in East, West, North, and South Africa. From very unlikely start to journalism success, join us today. And thank you for joining us in welcoming this Liberian woman, Mrs. Melissa Chea-Annan, or trailblazer in Liberian journalism, who excel in journalism and a practitioner of press freedom in Africa and beyond for her fascinating and inspiring success story. Welcome, Melissa, my dear friend and sister. It's so good to have you today.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, and thank you for having me on your show. Thank you for the work you continue to do, especially in lifting up the work of women who have really worked and making other women to understand how important they are in spite of intimidation from the men. I say thank you so much. Thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my sister. Yeah, I am so besides myself. And I'm so proud to also tell you, Melissa is my friend. I'm privileged to be friend with this great woman. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited. So,
Thank you, Priscilla.
I don't know what I said. Everything else is there is something that I left out, Melissa, that you want to add to the introduction about you.
Actually, you have said it all. Sometimes if you listen to people and they are saying things about you, they say, "Oh my goodness, this is exactly what I have accomplished. I didn't even know that." Especially if you like doing your work, you just have a passion for this work and you're doing your thing, and people taking record of what you are doing. Sometimes it comes, as a surprise. But
Yeah.
thank you. You have said it all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I agree with you. Sometimes you're just going through the motion. You just not jotting down how much impact you're making or how much work you're doing. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so tell us, like I said during your introduction, when I said from unlikely start to journalism success, you shared your experience before, but I want you to tell our new day audience, how did you get started in journalism and how long have you been in a profession?
Thank you again for having me on your show. It it all started in 1996. I would just say, yeah, 1996. That was like in December. I'm a member of the First AG Church. Okay, you left that part out. I'm a member of the First AG Church on Buchanan Street in Monrovia.
Mm-hmm.
So, as the leader of the choir, every Sunday go to church, do what you got to do for God, and then go home, continue your work during the course of the week. So, there was this brother in my church, man. Success in journalism cannot, the story cannot be told without mentioning this guy's name. His name is Grady Double. He used to work at the Inquirer newspaper. He was one of the senior journalists there at the time, reporter. So he and myself in the same church. One Sunday in December, just around Christmas, he asked me, he said, "Melissa, what are you doing?" That was 1996. So I said, "I'm in school. If I had just completed my Associate of Arts degree in computer science at the AME's Nyenator Community College." So he asked me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I just finished with school." But then the school had just transitioned to the university level. They were going like a bachelor degree. So I said, "I just completed the associate degree and I'm trying to further my education." But then Thomas said, Inquirer newspaper is looking for a female reporter. I said, "Well, that's good." It's like you and somebody lecturing and the person telling you something. You say, "Yeah, that's good." Then he said, "Well, you could be that reporter." I said, "Mm-mm, it has not come to that. I am not a journalist. In fact, I didn't even have interest in news, Priscilla. My interest was like watching Malawala, Balawala, or any kind of movies or so. But when it came to the news, no, I didn't have interest in news. I didn't even know anything about news. The only time I think, for some reason, when I got glued to the radio, it was during the Liberian civil crisis. You know, when Focus on Africa, when they say Focus on Africa, that song, and everybody goes running to the radio to hear where the rebels are situated, you know. So that
Yeah.
was when I used to listen to it, but apart from that, no. So when Double came on, he said, "But Melissa, I'm serious about this thing, and I really want you to go to Inquirer newspaper to work there." I said, "Girlie, it's not possible. I don't know anything about journalism. I don't have an interest." He said, "Oh, we're training you." But long story short, Double convinced me. He persuaded me, and he asked me to go to the Inquirer newspaper. So I said, "Okay." That was the summer we had this lecture. So in January, right after Inquirer, I didn't even know it was their anniversary, but it was the time I chose to go there. That was it was January 21st. I remember that day. So 1997, January 21st, he already showed me where the Inquirer, the new office was, because at the time the old office was on Carey Street. They had some problem and the office got burned down. So they moved on Curtis Street. And then I went to Inquirer newspaper on Curtis Street. When I got there, I asked for Double because he asked me to come over. And then when I asked for him, I met him. Then Double took me to Mr. Wisse's office. He said, "Mr. Wisse, this is the lady I told you about."
So who's
So
Mr. Wisse?
Mr.
Just for the audience
Wisse,
who don't know him.
Mr. Wisse, he was the managing editor of the Inquirer newspaper at the time. In fact, up to his death, he just passed away. May his soul rest in peace.
You
So
mean Philip Wisse, right?
Fede and Wisse, Anthony Fede and Wisse. So
Okay.
Baba took me to Mr. Wisse's office and said, "Mr. Wisse, this is Melissa." And Mr. Wisse, he said, "How you doing?" And I answered. And the first question the man asked me, look at the first impression, can you imagine? He said, "Do you know your subject verb agreement?" And then I told him, I said, "Yes." I said, "Yes, I know my subject verb agreement." Then he took me to Mr. Banasaki, who was the news editor at the time. Mr. Wisse took me to Banasaki's office. He said, "And we have a new reporter. And if I turn her over to you." But then Saki said, you know, he could stop and say, "You can write." I said, "Yeah, I can write." So Mr. Saki said, "But I want you to do me a favor." I didn't know he was actually testing me. Then he said, "I need you to do me a favor." I said, "What?" He said, "Where are you coming from?" I said, "I'm coming from my house." He said, "Okay, I want you to do a narrative, you know, just write something from the time you woke up this morning up to the time you came, you know, you are seated here." So I said, "Okay." And then I used to like writing though, but I had no clue that this is where it was taking me. So I did a narrative,
Interesting.
turned it over to Banasaki. He read it. Then he went straight to Mr. Wisse's office. And Mr. Wisse came in Banasaki office and said, "She can write too. She can really write." So Mr. Wisse said, "Okay, Melissa, you are hired." I said, "Just like that?" He said, "Yeah." So myself, I said, "What?" So Mr. Wisse, "A journalist now?" He said, "No, it doesn't work." He said, I said, "But why am I doing it?" He said, "Stay here, I'm going to train you." So that's how it all started, Priscilla.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. That's yeah. Oh wow. That's a fascinating story. Thank you for sharing that.
you were.
Okay, so then you started, and then just I believe there were challenges. So just tell us, describe to us some of your challenges
Okay,
as a
so
journalist in Liberia, and then after that, or maybe while doing that, how being a woman impact that. Because I don't want to say tell the challenging as a female journalist because we don't say male journalist. So I have problem with people There's too much.
No, they do say as a journalist, yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
but yeah, as a
Because they
journalist,
always
for
say female journalists. You see, these guys are the ones. This is a profession we found ourselves in, but some kind of a way they made us to look like, oh, okay, women in the media. But I've never heard men in the media.
no, 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 no,
They
no.
are the
They are the
journalists. You
me.
see,
Yeah,
but
we
it's
are the
okay.
adjectives. Yeah,
The more they do that, it kind of like empower us. Like I
yeah.
was saying when I started, Mr. Wise, he's a very great man. He was a very great man, and he believed in the strength of women. He was one person who really, like women will say, made me frisky when he came to this profession. Mr. Wise really made me frisky. He did everything he could to put me up there. I was in a newsroom and I was the only female journalist. I was the only female because they said they were not a female journalist. Now I was the only woman in the newsroom. He assigned me to some of my colleagues and co-workers, James Paga, and then James Momo. So those guys were there, and he asked me to always be around them because they were going to guide me through the whole profession. As Mr. We said, kept looking around. Whenever there was a training opportunity, he would always send me there just to
That's
make
good.
sure that he built me up. And I was also privileged to attend the Liberia Institute of Journalism. That was the
I
school.
like
It
Jay.
was established by the late. I don't even know whether he's dead, but I'm not sure. But
Vinny Hodges.
yeah, so I attended his school, and there were several things, there were several training that I went through, and I enjoyed it a whole lot. It also helped to build my foundation. And
Good.
working with these guys, I noticed that whenever we went out there to go and fetch the news, I will always like see myself as the lone lady, especially from the print media, because we didn't have too many women
Yeah,
in the media at the time.
print
And
media
then
especially.
the very first time, I continued to follow these guys, see what they were doing. Mr. We said, apart from that, we had a special folder in our office for the local dailies. Every other newspaper, we had a folder where they would put these papers in the folder, and he would ask me to just read. And because sometimes you and somebody go out there to do and cover a story, the way you tell your story is kind of a different from the way I would tell the story, though we are telling the same story. So he wanted me to read other people's stories, reading the old papers, seeing how news is written, and so I was enjoying it. I was actually enjoying it, and I got myself involved. I said, okay, this thing, I'm going to prove to the world that he didn't make a mistake. And if somebody sees something in you, there's a potential in you, somebody sees. So you
Yeah.
have to look at yourself and say, can I really do this? Is it true? Can I really do this? And the person just think I can do it. Then you have to build on it and prove the person right that yes, what you saw is true. So we started doing this thing, going around, coming in. When they write their story, look at it. And then one day, I felt that I was a mature woman in this profession. And I told myself, I said, I'm ready. He said, he said, Mr. Saki will always say, don't jump. Mr. Wisa said, don't rush. Because this thing is a everyday thing, and this is your profession. This is what you're going to keep doing. So just take it easy. I said, no, Mr. Wisa, I can do it now. I thought the restoration was so hard. The way you're making the thing is so thick, I can do it. So he said, okay, I'm going to try you. And then, because I started January, February, and March. March, Decoration Day, Mr. Wisa said, okay, it's time. I'm going to send you to cover the
Decorate.
Decoration Day. So I said, okay. I went step in my home notepad. I was enjoying it. And I went to the grave site to see how people honor the dead, how they carry out this Decoration Day and what have you. And I saw a whole lot of stuff. Some people were dancing, people looking for their loved one grave, other people who could drink, spilled in the liquor over it, other people crying. I mean, it was just mixed feelings, and it was just all kinds of stuff. So when I left the place, I explained to Mr. Wise. He said, okay, go and write exactly what you saw and what happened. And Priscilla, my dear, I wrote that story with my whole heart. That was a caption story. I wrote the story, and Liberia Liberians remember the dead. I think that was the headline. And then the byline was by Melissa and Chea. And then I saw that caption story, Priscilla. It was my happiest moment.
To see a byline in the newspaper.
I took that paper where I went to the office the next morning and saw, because they had it in the front, just a caption story, but they had to carry it anyway. And I saw my neighbor Melissa and Chea. I said, hey, I took that paper I went running straight to First AD Church. And I said, because I was telling my church members, I said, guess what? They said, what? I said, I'm a journalist now. They said, oh, my friend, we let me phone. I said, I'm not joking. I opened the paper and put there, Liberians remember the dead. Then I looked, I said, by Melissa H. And whatever. So I only a sad member. And that's how it started, from writing it on dead people, then writing to the presidency. There was challenges, and the thing about it, working as a reporter or journalist, at the time I started, 1997, it was a tough one. I want to, I bless God for the modern day journalists. They have everything. They even have their cell phone where they can go and type their story, do stuff. But during our days, Inquirer had one pitiful typewriter. And all of the reporters we had to wait. If your friend doesn't have the fast typing speed and what have you, you have to wait. So for me, I used to play smart. Sometimes you go and cover a story and you see everything is in your head. How you want to write your story is there. So what I used to do, I would just bring a piece of paper and write everything. So my editor at the time, Mr. Saki, would say, go and do 3 lists. Go and write 3 lists. So you have to come up with this, this, and this. Then he would say, okay, take it from here. And then every other thing, put it in a story. So I used to write on the paper, and then when the guys are finished with the typewriter, then I go and type a story, because the editor will not take a story that is written, he wants it typed. So we'll go and type it. And sometimes, like you starting, you are not really like perfect, or you don't really know it like that. Sometimes you write a story. That was the smartest thing I did, like you put it on the paper. So if I go and type it and take it to him, he said he wants to frustrate me. And what is this? You put the crew in the story, then he would tear it. Wow. Yeah, he would tear it to see if I would cry. I said, I'm tears you waiting for you. You can see you. But guess what? I will in the bathroom.
I did that.
Now I wet my come out there.
All of us did that.
I say, cry for wetting. Bring out we're ready again. Now when we ready, say, and in fact, nothing different for the first one that he told. I would just go and do similar to he said, this one is okay. And I said, I'll just let it go. And that was the thing we used to do. You go in a field, you don't have recorder. And my cousin sent me a recorder when he heard I was journalist. He sent me a portable recorder. It was not the office I gave it to me. No. So there were some of the challenges. I had my own recorder. I had one nice camera where whenever I went out there to go and do story and the photographer is not there, I take my own stuff to my recorder because I really wanted this. I had interest in it now. So I was like putting my all into it. And when my managing editor realized that I was really doing better than those guys and who they call themselves senior reporter, I'm not calling their names, but telling those who I met it. When I was better, my position changed from cop reporter, because cop reporter is the reporter in training. They changed to reporter. The reporter now, I kept doing my best. And the next thing, it turned to senior reporter. I said, okay, you see, I'm climbing the ladder. So these were the things that we went through while in the profession also. And then my assignment started changing. Got a beats. I had different areas of beats. Just covering it.
Cool, cool. Yeah. So yeah, wow. That's really interesting and inspiring, especially the part where you feel discouraged. That I think it's from us that we call it tough love. Um Unlike, in other parts of the world, like here where we are, people will be like, no, honey, you didn't do it right. Do it like this. Like, how do you tear someone's story up? And if they're not strong, they will leave. But yeah, and then it made you more determined to say, I will wipe my tears and then I'll go back. And then
Yeah.
you were able to, invest in your own, getting your own your work tools like recorder, camera. Yeah, the first time I learned that from you, I was like, oh yeah, it really showed that I'm determined to make it. So yeah, it's inspiring. It's inspiring.
So
That's
this is something, Priscilla. I think sometimes in either 98 or 1999, Mr. Wisa, he asked me to do a story. Sometimes the news come to you. You know, there was this lady who had her daughter, and she was very sick. She was so sick, and she needed help. She needed just 8,000 Liberian dollars. At the time, the rate was like 40. When she brought her daughter to the office crying, her daughter was like 5, 6 years old. I think between 5 and 8 years, because it's been a long time. And Mr. Wisa sent this lady to me, say, go to Melissa, she will do your story. I did her story. She explained everything to me. She needed to go through surgery. She didn't have money. She was crying. Just imagine a mother and a child. Looking at this beautiful little child, I said, what can I do? So in journalism, you don't put yourself in a story. You just tell the story as it is.
it is. Yeah.
So I told the story. And the next morning, I remember it was in October that year, 1999. October, it was October 15. If I'm not sure of the date, but it was in October. But then we had a peacekeepers in Liberia. Feta Malu was the general, ECOMOC general. He was the general for ECOMOC. And then when I went to work the next day,
You told me that story. How they came and got you.
I was sitting in the office. If I was in the newsroom, and as Mr. We said, this huge militant, the soldier entered the office, asked Victoria, the receptionist at the time, said, Victoria, where is Melissa? And Victoria said, because she was afraid, you see somebody in military uniform asking for a reporter, girl, you got to run. So Victoria said, I'm coming. And she went and told Mr. Wisa, say, one officer here, but he asking for Melissa. And Mr. Wisa said, I don't know why he this guy talk. And Mr. Wisa said, okay, let her come. And I saw this guy. He said, the ECOMA general wants to see you. Now I said, who is it, Victor Malu? But he couldn't explain anything further. I said, okay, I'm coming. He had this nice Jeep out there. I went to Mr. Wisa. I said, Mr. Wisa, let's check in the paper and see if I ever did anything wrong. If I ever reported, let's check last week's paper. Because sometimes you writing your story, if it doesn't go well with the news maker, they can come at you. So let's be sure that I didn't do anything wrong. When I saw the paper that day, I said, but the only story that I reported on that this girl, and last week, I'm not sure if I ever reported on, maybe I did something in ECOMO, but I didn't say anything about Feta Malu. But Mr. Wisa said, just go. I said, okay. And we got in a car, well relaxed, when we got to Starbase, around the freeway area.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Victor Malu had his, there where he was staying at the time. The officer got down, opened the door for me. The fear that was in me, it was kind of for like changing. So I got down, went to the man, and he had a paper in his hand, the very paper, that Monday edition. He said, are you Melissa? I said, yes, I am. He said, come inside. And I went. He said, this is the kind of a story we like. Everything cannot just be about politics, but helping somebody who needs help. I mean, I was touched by your story. Then I said, thank God, thank God, this is really bad. Oh, God, thank you. He said, but come, this lady needs $200, right? Because the equivalent was 200 United States dollars.
Hey,
That's what she needs.
8,000 Liberian dollars. Yeah.
Then Victor Malu went and gave me the money. Then he said, take it to the lady. And I said, okay. He even offered me, he gave me food, but Priscilla, I couldn't eat because I was like
Yes.
so excited that somebody, read my story and. So when I got back to the office, Mr. Wiesel called me in the office. I said, Mr. Wiesel, he said, what happened? I said, Victor Malu came to the lake and rescue. He said, okay, call her mom right now, and we'll call the mom. I mean, through my report, at least I'm excited that I was able to give hope to a hopeless woman, that her story was able to be carried out, through our report or so. Because sometimes we see ourselves, maybe most often, especially our guys in the media, they like politics. They think when they report it on politics, that what makes you the best. But sometimes you have to have,
Cursing.
that's it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm just agreeing with you. I said, girl, say it. Yep, you're right. And you just smoothly transition into that was going to be my next question. You already answered that because you explained the obstacles about waiting for one typewriter, and I know it used to make you leave work late because
Very
I mean
late. You go
your
to
way.
work, and Mr. Wisa told us, he said, as a journalist, because I don't know whether that money or that threat or so, or fear, whatever it was. As a journalist, you have to be here at least 8 o'clock in the morning because the news starts when 8. You never know who's going to come to this office, and you have to follow your beat and other stuff. So I would just go as early as 8 o'clock in the morning, and then guess when I leave the office, 11 o'clock in the night.
Yeah, but
Especially
because
when I was an editor now, it was worse because he would just come and say, Melissa, you taking care of the paper tomorrow? So it was binding on me to stay there until the paper goes to bed. So it was tough.
yeah.
I didn't
So
have
you
car
remember,
on my own. I have to struggle. I was not driving. I have to struggle, stay on Broad Street there waiting for a car to take you all the way. It was not an easy thing. But these are I always tell people, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So these are challenges. If you don't go through this test of time, you don't come up with a testimony. So we just have to face it. It's not always going to be like roses, but you have to be strong and prove to the people that, oh yes, I'm a woman, I can do it. And that's exactly what I kept doing.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So like I said, I'm just going to skip because that's what I was going to ask. That the challenges were there, and then despite the challenges, what made the job worthwhile? What the kind of story you explained about the little girl, and $200 that was a big amount that time. For your story to be able to get somebody that amount, especially get the attention of Victor Malu. I think those kind of testimony really made it the struggle and worthwhile. So it was amazing that you shared that. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure there are a lot of other situations like that 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 you can attest to. There was one that you told me about, or we learned about when we're in Liberia, where you went to JFK. You want to share that you went to JFK, and then I think you were not feeling well, or somebody wasn't feeling well. You want to visit someone, and then someone say your name, and then someone said,
Oh
Melissa, like
yeah,
Melissa
that was
Chea. Yeah, yeah, Melissa Chea. Then the
that was
person
there were
was
hospital.
that saved their
Yeah, when
family.
I went to ERW hospital at the time I was, pregnant or so. So when I went for hospital checkup, and this lady, when she saw my card, the hospital card, then she saw the name. She said, "Oh, so are you the Melissa Chea?" And I say, "Yes." She said, girl, I've been reading your story. Oh, your stories. Oh, I've been following, like she had been following me, but I didn't
Mhm.
know. Because for
Yeah.
us in the print media, people don't see us. We
No,
just
only
write the
the
story.
radio
Priscilla, you
people
know
get
what I'm talking
popular.
about, right? Because you were there
Yeah.
too. So you write the story, it carries your bar line. That's the name that rings in the people ear, especially for those who always kind of like read papers and what have you. So when she said it, I mean, it's like I was a celebrity about it. You know. She said, oh, this I said, oh, the thing is serious thing. Oh. Then work that people do it, it really a
But they
serious
think
one.
that no one is watching. Yeah.
Yes,
People are
yeah.
watching,
So
following.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I
Uh, um,
remember when I was covering Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, during
yeah.
the campaign, that's when the leaders, the politicians, those who want to be in office or so, that is when they go from county to county, you know, just to run their campaign and what have you. I remember we went to Nima County. It's a very, very big county. We had already visited other counties. It was the same message over and over, because it was her re-elections. Oh, this woman, she has done this, and all the kind of political jargons and what have you.
Graduates. Yeah.
So I remember there were other journalists who went there. But this particular day, the women, certain district in Nima County, they tried to petition her and trying to give her their support that, oh, we're going to take you no matter what, you have made a difference, we love you, blah, blah, blah. But then when I was in there, I looked through the window, I saw this little girl, Priscilla. She was like carrying 7 or 8 months pregnancy, but
Pregnancy.
she was just like 12, 13 years old. So the little girl, when I saw her struggling, her story just reminded me about a story in the Bible where Jesus went somewhere, and this woman with the issue of blood said that if I can just touch the hem of his garment, and she struggled her way just to see the Jesus. So this little girl was struggling to meet with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. That was
Mm,
her goal. That once the president sees me, something about me will tell her that I need help. And when I saw this little girl, people were around her, but then other people, the people in her village kept saying, look at her, the other witchcraft, our people way of thinking. When I saw her, they didn't even give her a chance to go close because when you
to
were
the
passed by the
woman.
security before you even go in the poor building. I went outside and I called her in the corner. I said, come, what's going on? She had her aunt with her who explained her whole story. So when the auntie got you explaining the story, then I said, okay, you know what? The best I can do is to like, excuse me, President. So I told her the best that I could do was to lift her story, tell her story. So, so when I wrote her story, I sent it to Monrovia. I was in Nima County at the time. Now,
Yeah.
at least I have access to phone where you could do it and just send it. And I
Okay.
sent a story to Mr. Wise. I told him, I said, Mr. Wise, this very story, today we're taking politics off. I have already written enough stories about Ellen Johnson running campaign and what have you. It's not going to make any difference. This child needs help. I need her story to be lifted. And Mr. Wise, he so much believed in me. He said, okay, I listen to you. I'm going to do it. And that little girl, her story came out. Priscilla, they helped that little girl hard. I was so grateful to God that I did her story because we ended up opening an account for her. From that story, they brought her, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf now, the lady who we went to, that little girl came, she ordered that the girl leave Nima County and come to Monrovia. So through that
Mm,
report, the little girl came to Monrovia, took her
mm.
to JFK, and they did surgery on her. Priscilla, her parents could not stop thanking God, for taking me her way. But
Her life
I'm
was
so
so,
happy that at least I gave her life up to the time that I left Liberia. Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, that's another thing that
That
I did.
is so,
I was so happy about.
that is awesome. That is awesome. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Melissa. I know these stories because you and I and hang out, but I'm just so glad that every time you hear them, you're like, they fascinate me. So if you're watching us, I hope you're following, there are just a lot of ways that we can make a difference in the world that we live in. So I'm glad that Melissa is here with us sharing. And I will get to you um on your role in the press union, whether there were challenges or how you ended up there. But let me just use this time to just go to the comments area. Somebody said, uh, Amara Sciente, Amara Sciente Kamara say, good afternoon, FOL. Good afternoon, Amara. Then they say, but you have female. Oh, I think he was responding to the time. Oh, I skipped one. Uh, FOL say, welcome, Melissa. Uh, um, and then there's just say, and this is, I think, when we were jokingly when we were making poking at the patriarchy when we say, the men like to use themselves as the default, and then everyone else is the adjective. There is not man doctor, there is not man lawyer, but there is female lawyer association, or there is female, the so and so. So that's what he's asking. He said, but you have female journalist association, female lawyer association. When women win in political parties, is it the men assigning these labels, or are the women putting themselves in these subgroups? And it's to address that they are not being made part of mainstream. Even in politics, political parties, if they're being made part of mainstream, there wouldn't be wings. So women form these groups, and then they say, hey, we need to be heard. So that's what I can say about it. If Melissa wants to
That's exactly it, Priscilla, because sometimes if you are not getting the attention that you need,
in
of
a
course,
larger
you need
group.
that space for yourself.
Yeah,
The
that's it.
journalism profession in Liberia is a male-dominant profession. And these guys, in most of the, that's it, thank God right now we have a huge presence of women in the media. I'm so happy about that. Because this time around, the women are standing real strong. But those days when we were there, you have few women. Because number one, sometimes it's not that the women they didn't want to be there. But if you don't have your male counterpart to encourage you and see you, like, they always say like, oh, you lazy women there, they can't show off, they can't bluff. So you have to prove to them that, what, I didn't come here to bluff, I came here to work. And this is a work that we are doing. I'm not doing you a favor. I'm doing something that's, even though I'm working, but it's going to pay my bills and also, put me up there too. So it's not something like fashion show. And apart from that, or journalists, you have to be well dressed because you don't know when you are going to be called upon. For us who were covering the executive mansion, we didn't used to wear jeans trousers to go there.
Of
Of
course,
course, you have to
yes.
come well dressed. So if you have a female journalist working in that institution and she comes to work well dressed, I think you should compliment her instead of saying you did not bluffing thing here. It's just that Liberia, our society is kind of a different the way we see things. Sometimes if you travel out of Liberia, then your eyes open and say, oh my goodness, it's not easy back there. So these guys, there's nothing wrong with men training women. Because you train me, does that mean I don't know it? Yes, I don't know it. But does that mean I cannot improve? Of course I can improve. That's why I was telling the women some time ago in November when I visited Liberia. I told the female journalist, I said, let me tell you, you have a greater opportunity as compared to our time. We didn't have it like that. The guys were there, they were partly selfish, even though I did not encounter that. But there were other female journalists that I talked to who had challenges. In fact, they went through tough time than me. I think Inquirer really, really needed a female reporter. That was why I got the love, and then the way the guys and work along with me, it was fun. So my upbringing was cool. It was nice.
There were
because
times that you and I used to go on the field
Mhm.
together, and your stories
Many
are in
days,
the newspaper. I see it, and mine are not even
and your
considered.
story will not even
Because
come
my
around.
challenge
Thank
was
you.
different at the other end that you know about until I
I
had to
know,
leave.
Priscilla, there were
Yeah,
many days we did stories together. You will open Inquirer and you see my story,
and I'll be
in the
crying.
paper.
Yeah,
But then when
but
I
me and
open
Melissa
your own
went to
the
a little
paper,
conference
I didn't
together.
used to
Yeah.
see your story. It was because you were not getting the support from
Oh
no
yeah.
guys there. So that is exactly what we're saying. So if our men will not be there to support us, then the women will gang up and say, you know what happened? That's from our own group so that we can be heard. That was how you see the whole female, the figure thinking about, because there were few women in the media. So they said we have to let people see us. And I was
Yeah.
telling the women, I said, let me tell you, going out those days, we allowed the men to write our story, then we sit down and read it. Like we don't know how to write. Learn it. Go and read. There's nothing wrong with you listening to other people who have written stories and what have you. Listen to them. See if you can build on it. Go and see how they write the news and see if you can write in another style. So the more you do it, the more your passion for it is going to increase. And that's exactly what I did. So hey guy, we label ourselves because we were not given a chance to
Yeah.
be heard or seen by our
Yeah.
guys in there. But by the
Yeah.
time we label ourselves, then we gain recognition. So right now they're saying, oh, the female journalists of Liberia. Oh, yes, we are, because they put us
Yeah.
in our position. So that
Yeah.
just exactly, and we just wanted to be heard, and we were heard. We got their
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah, then Dennis, that's just it. Like Melissa to do, and to just quickly add to her also, when we're not in a position of power, if it's all males are making these decisions, she and I and another colleague, we even had to, out of that frustration, because we felt that our stories weren't being heard, being carried. The three of us, we started the group where that the three of us incorporated. We were three incorporators, and we
Yeah.
started this women group. And what we were doing, Melissa, in the street of Monova, giving out our newsletters, that
Newsletter, writing our own stories, yes.
we're putting our stories in it. We will go to the VOA displays camp. You remember we used to
Yeah,
go to
we
this
went
place
to so many refugee camps, and
camps.
we visited people, even going to school campus and other stuff, like talking to students, just to come up with some kind of a story, taking stories and all from the church, everything. We did that.
We had to organize that, Dennis, just because those stories that we wanted for you to be kept. I remember there was a story, they will always have problem with you. They're not carrying those stories, then we do those stories, they had problems. So Melissa, you and I, we talked to this lady who, I think she lost her limb
So like,
from, I think, bombs or something. And she used to braid hair
yeah,
before she had an accident. She was down Girlish Street there, very beautiful. And then we did our story and we had it in the newsletter. But the thing is, it was just out of desperation. We want to be heard. That's why we can come in those kind of groups. And then we started our group. Later today, that group is one of the, I think, I don't know what is still a leading group in Liberia,
yeah.
journalism space. It carved a space for women. And it was even able to establish the first women radio
The
stations.
station here, little Mark,
Yeah, Liwoma. It was Melissa, me,
and
and
Priscilla, and
another, and
Esther.
Estella. The three of us, we came together. We went to Maba Point. We
When Mama
went to
Point,
see.
you went to
We
be
went to
office,
see UN women, and then we told them we are journalists, but we're not editors, and our stories are left out and ignored. And so we want sponsorship. We want donor funding to start this. And the people listen to the three of all, they say, yeah, you got good idea.
yeah,
But the three
seriously.
of y'all, nobody going, no, do not going to get three female journalists money. So y'all go and organize more and get your friends together. So we were able to bring
To
and
bring
talk
many
to
Keshaw, Tawan Solonte, the lady there,
and
Alice,
Eva Flomo.
you know, all of
Yeah.
them, so they're bringing them on board.
And that's how we're able to organize the Liberia Women Media Action Committee. So I hope it answers your questions. It's not that sometimes we want to just label ourselves, and it's not like it's not unique to Liberia. It's globally. Women will form those networks to be able to strengthen their voices and shout louder. So yeah. And the other question Denise asked Melissa is, how is your story, the start, different from other young women starting out in the profession?
He said, how is my story different?
Yeah, from
Those days I
young
was
women,
reading, yeah. You see, like when I started, I said we had one typewriter, right?
the
But right now,
challenges was tougher
this in this modern day,
or different.
the female journalists they have laptops, computer, so it's far different. So even if you misspell a word, the computer is going to correct it for you. But during our days, we had to spell it correctly, or else the editor going to tear your. But you see, right now, nobody's going to tear their paper or so. They don't even need to print out paper. So it's kind of a far different and more advanced. And I think they should continue to take advantage of it because it's like working for them. It's in their favor. Sometimes before even a story comes out in the newspaper, it's already all over the internet and what have you. So you can even go there, see, but just make sure you're doing it the way it's supposed to be carried out. So yeah, it's kind of a far different. During our days, we used to run. When they say run behind car, and the tape recorder, we had tape recorder where you have to, you know, rewind
Rewind,
it. Other
listen,
and sometimes you put it in your
then
ear
you
and
go
what have
back again, rewind
you. So,
to
but
transcribe.
like
Yeah.
yeah, these days,
Yeah.
some of the newsmaker will already come up with a prepared text and what have you. So they just go in and take what they have to take that would make a news. So our
Mm.
days, it was not an easy thing. It was not an easy thing, but thank God at least technology has improved and people they are doing things better than what we did in the past.
Yeah, and I think they have their own challenges too. It's just different from time past. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
do.
Somebody say Cleophas Hodges say, good afternoon, FOL. Great stories, and they are very touching. Thanks for what you did for people. I think Melissa, this person is talking to you. Yeah, I joined this person. I don't know what it's he or she. Nowadays, you don't assume people gender. So whoever this person is, they say great stories and thank you for what you did for the people, and I joined in to say thank you to I follow your work over the years, and thank you for professionally and personally. There are a lot of things about Melissa that we'll say thank you for if some of us decide to go into it. So quickly tell us about, so when I was reading your bio, I mentioned that you also did professional affiliation with
The Philadelphia
Philadelphia
Inquirer newspaper.
Inquirer. Tell us your experience, a little about your experience with the Philadelphia Inquirer. In fact, how did you end at the Philadelphia Inquirer?
When I came for the Humphrey program, 2012, usually the Humphrey program is a program that is being sponsored by the United States government, where they build people in different professions and to just build your capacity when it comes to leadership and whatever. Also, then you go back home, you share it with your people, and to just help build a society. So when I did I did my study at the University of Maryland, College Park. At the end of it, the coordinators for the program will ask you, what do you want to go into your professional affiliation? So you have to choose. We have already visited VOA, what the other newspaper they said, uh, uh, um, the one in Washington, D.C., okay, Voice of America, the, the New York Times in New York. Okay, we went to all the areas and what have you. But then there was something about Inquirer newspaper because I don't, maybe it's because there where I started and working at the Inquirer newspaper for over
In
17
Liberia,
years.
yeah.
That's the only job I ever did in Liberia. So Inquirer just stuck to my head. I told my coordinator, I said, Lucinda, I think I would prefer doing my professional affiliation at the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper. Then she said, okay. And she did a communication to the head, Bill, at the time. And then he said, oh, yes, let her come. Let's see how it's like working with African journalists and how I ended up at the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper. And Priscilla, I'm telling you, journalism in America is so sweet. It's sweet, though. I mean, the people make it so easy. They make it easy as compared to Liberia. Take, for example,
As
If
compared
I'm
to
going to
Liberia.
cover, the first time I cover a protest in America, where you have the police officer and other stuff like that, you have to talk to the commander, whoever that police officer was assigned, whoever he was or so, to go and talk to those people. I'm bringing it right back to Liberia. In Liberia, you can easily talk to the commander. You have to do a blood test. In fact, we ever look at you, say, to even see him, because he body out there, say the chief now around, the chief now available. No, we
Even
can't
though
talk to
they
him.
should be they're serving the people, they should be working for the
Yes,
public.
that's the
But
thing that
yeah,
they don't know. They don't. Maybe they have not realized that they're actually serving the people, and they are accountable to the people. Everything that happens, you have to tell the people, let them know. And not something that you come in the car, keep in your pocket. If you say the whole news, you're making it your personal property. That's not fair to our people back home. It's not fair to you. So when I talk to this, in fact, the my co-worker, the lady who I was on assignment with, one of the journalists from that place, a white lady, then she said, in fact, the first question she asked me, you able to cover protest? I said, they even know which country I'm coming from. And asked me if I able to cover protest. Grand Liberia. Yo, wait,
we can protest everything.
it's so peaceful. You have banners and other stuff and other things that are in Liberia. We'll be throwing
Utu
stools.
kapayo,
One
kapayo.
protest, one protest in Liberia. Hey, it prevented me from even reading from Inquirer newspaper to cross LU. I couldn't even cross. I had to wait. Thank God I used to go after 11 o'clock in the night. Waited when the tension cooled down before I was able to pass. So that how terrible, it was. But in America, I got to this police officer, introduced myself. He saw my ID from the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper. Priscilla, the way the police officer opened up to me, he gave me all of the information that I needed within a twinkling of an eye. Something that the 17 years that I work as a journalist in Liberia, the only time you will get like a good information or promotional information from the Liberian government if they call a
It's
press
what they
conference.
want PR, yeah.
Mhm. So when
They
they
want
want
PR
you
image.
to promote them now, they call you. But when something is going on and you need information from them, you can't get it that
Or
easily.
control and
So it
damage
was kind of a
control.
smooth here. The people in America feel like they are obligated to you. They have to give you the information you need. Any question you ask them, they're going to give it to you. So another thing about the Inquirer newspaper that I admire most, if you
You
did a
mean the Philadelphia Inquirer?
Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper, if you did a story, they say you on assignment, you did a story, the editor is going to look at your story, edit it, put it in the right format, whatever way it's supposed to be, and he's going to send it right back to you. You got to make sure that the information that you put in our story is correct.
It's still there.
Everybody's name is spelled correctly, and this is exactly it. So you don't go home when they finish, you look at it, you give your approval before that story is published, because the institution also don't want to get into trouble.
In
So
trouble,
that was
yeah.
the unlike back home. Most of us, by the time we finish the story, you just say, I finish, they go on. The next day you come to work, something that you thought you put in the story is not there. It changed the whole content of the story. Then you say, oh, no, but it's not supposed to be like this. That one is not the editor's fault. It's the reporter's fault. You cannot
This is
leave.
Melissa talking as an editor.
Yes, you cannot leave unless your story is edited. You see the edited version and be sure that this is exactly what you want in the paper. Or else, if you made mistake and the editor sees that you made mistake and take a certain word from there, it might change the whole story and different from why you really wanted to report on. Then in the final analysis, somebody calling you say, no, this is not it. And I hate that thing. To say you went to another publication because you made mistake
A
just to
reporter.
wasting space. But we as journalists, we have to be very, very careful. Do your story. If it is edited, you see the edited version. When it goes to bed, then you can go home. Then your time is over. I think for those who are like in the even the electronic media, you can do your story, give it to the editor. Then he look at it, send it back to you before it goes on air. So It's just for every one of us, for future journalists, for those who are already there, for the gurus, for the veterans, whatever way, we all make mistakes. But at the same time, we can learn from our mistakes. Yeah, we
Okay.
do.
But you also said something, Melissa, on the flip side. So, yeah, I was teasing when I said that's Melissa speaking as an editor. So, don't blame me if you didn't wait for me to edit you. But you, as a reporter, let's talk from the perspective of the reporter. Sometimes I present my story. I say happy, or what is the difference with what you notice in Inquirer in Philadelphia? Like, we already agree on my final version, and then I go home, and then the editor, maybe for some reason, maybe he or she is friends with the newsmaker, or I don't know what happened when I went home, but then the next day there is not the version that I submitted that we agree on, or the context has changed. That's happened before.
Mhm.
Is that something that as a
Yeah,
reporter?
sometimes it happens. And, we know that everybody has interest. That one you cannot rule it out. Even our editors, they have interest. So sometimes, based on their rapport with whoever the newsmaker or what have you, and you go down there, oh yeah, I experienced it before. Yeah, where you went and did a story, and because that story did not go well with the newsmaker, then he wants to bring his own story, and my editor will
After
come
you
and
left for the
choose
night.
that newsmaker story or my story, something that I struggle for. Oh no, it's not going to work. So I used to tell Mr. Wisse, and that what I said, the late Mr. Wisse, I love his, I love that man till death. Even in death, I still love him. He was so cool, he was so calm, he was so nice, and he respected his reporters. The only time Mr. Wisse going to carry a story, like if the reporter did not go and miss that story, then he will be forced to take whatever the person, the newsmaker sent to him, he will be forced. But at the same time, he's still going to tell you that the story ain't finished yet. You have to go after it. See the story to the end, especially if it's a story that it has to continue or so. You have to keep reporting on it until that story comes to an end. You know.
So no follow up.
So yeah, it's true. Even I remember one time when I was serving as editor when Mr. Wisse told me, he said, Mr. Melissa, I said, yes, sir. He said, you taking all the paper here for the whole week. I said, okay, fine. I was enjoying it. I didn't care anymore. Even if I reached on 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, this is a work that I was called to do. I must do it. And I remember I was at the office at the time. I got a phone call from Mr. Wisse because he had left. If Mr. Wisse entrusts you with the paper, he's not going to stay there because he already know that you are capable of handling the paper. So he will go home. And I got this call from Mr. Wisse. He said, Melissa, a story is coming. It was already after 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night. A story is coming. And I want you to please carry me. He talked to me nicely. I beg you, man, please carry. So I said, Mr. Wisse, is that story a breaking story? He said, no. I said, okay, it's going to wait. He said, hey, Melissa, I beg you. I said, Mr. Wisse, I finished talking my own war. The next day, the story didn't appear because it was me making decision for the public now because somebody wants to be promoted, so you can't bring your. I don't even care what goes with that story. It's not going to be published on my turn. So the next day when Mr. Wisse came, he said, "Madam Editor," I said, "Yeah." I say at least that story that I will go the next day. And in fact, Mr. Wisse, that story going inside the paper now, and we laugh
And,
about
and
it.
and you say you learned that from the Inquirer Philadelphia Inquirer when you
Yeah,
went
it's
back,
fitted.
right? You learned from them that they had a cutoff point where no more story after the editorial
Oh yeah,
decision is made. No
yeah.
more story, no more story goes and comes
Once it's
after.
after 6 o'clock, it can except that breaking news. Oh yes, because everything is super C. So
Yeah.
except it is a breaking news, then it is going to go. But once it's after 6 o'clock, no other story going in that paper until the
Yeah,
next
because
day.
you're running a risk of making mistake, you're
Thank you. You
not doing
cannot do
all the
this in
proper
hurry.
verification. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can do this in
Yeah.
hurry. You go do this in hurry. Then at your own institution, you spot it right there. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
better to do the right thing than to be in a hurry and do the
Yeah.
wrong thing.
You said, yeah, you say when you went back, then he was like, Melissa, you think that America here? You said, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
after
When
spending time,
I
no
carried
story for you.
assistant there, I carried assistant when I completed my study. I said, let me go back home. I said, Mr. We said, hey, yeah, I went to go and learn. He said, yeah. I said, hey, when people learn, they come and bring about change. He said, yes. I said, okay, so we're going to do it this way and that way. And I remember one of the reporters said, you think you want to change our paper? I said, well, if I start something and you follow it, some kind of way there will be some kind of a change. So I know it's not going to happen in a day's time, but as time goes by, you will understand the new system. So as long as I'm here, I'm not going to waste my time in America. They finish learning the people book. I can't here to can't keep more right and apply the scene, the thing that make the people successful. You won't waste my time. It's not going to work with me. Then when he put me in charge now, I say, it's time for me to really do it my way. Yeah, I learned the thing. Yeah, everything talking about change. Now we learn, we go to school. Priscilla, you say you right down there. Then you say you were everything. There will always be forces. People will come after you and say, well, what are you trying to prove? You think because you come from America? Oh, yes, because I'm coming from America. And that's why I went there to go and learn. Yes, I learned. So I'm ready now to implement whatsoever thing that I learned. Yeah, let's do it for the betterment of the institution.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep you on because it looks like you have another engagement. I could just talk
I
with
know,
you
right?
on
But
and
so
on
you
and
know, what
on.
the thing is that it's not an easy thing to just summarize 17 years in the profession are full of challenges and other stuff like that. There were so many things, that we encounter, especially me, let me say me, that I went through as a journalist from a cop reporter to a reporter and then senior reporter, associate editor, and then editor in chief or whatever. So there were lots and lots of things that I went through that I might not be able to summarize. So maybe another time we could just continue from where I
We
stopped and what I
sure
did.
will, yeah.
Because even when I covered the presidency, it was another one all by itself.
I know. I want to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, at least one thing I was privileged to have traveled with the President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to Libya. But then it was Gaddafi who sent a presidential flight. It was a beautiful opportunity for me. But then the head, let's say the press secretary at the time, Cyrus Badio, he trusted me to go and do the story there. I was the only report, if I were two, one guy from the rural area, William, and me. So we had to go and do story covering the whole African Union Summit in Libya. And I was like sending the story. I did it somehow. I did the PRO aspect and sent it to the executive mansion because they were depending on me for that part. And then I did the real journalistic aspect and sent it to Inquirer newspaper office. I was playing dual role. But it was nice. There were challenges and they had a good side of it. They had a bad side of it. And even working as a vice president in the president of
The
Liberia,
president, yeah, we didn't get to that
it was another thing that
experience.
it was not an easy thing.
We need to
Christ,
continue this conversation.
we need to continue it because whenever
Yeah.
you have a woman somewhere, there will always be a difference. That nonsense where our past and present year leader they used to be taking our place to be a boxing ground. Trust me, my presence at the president of Liberia when I was vice president, there were lots and lots of things that we put into place, and that's exactly what we're supposed to do. So whenever you have the presence of women, no wonder how they want to fix it, put it in quote, the female journalists. Girl, we are powerful. I'm not lying to you. Every woman, wherever you are listening to me, whenever you put your feet down somewhere, you're going to make a difference. They will come down at you and say a whole lot of stuff. But don't mind it. Do what you got to do. Play a role, number one, and don't play like you're seeking maybe don't make yourself sorry for you not there because you don't know it. It's something that you already know. So you have to be there because you know it. That's why when I got in a race, I told them, I said, you're not going to afford me because I'm a woman.
No.
I'm qualified. I'm an editor. I graduated. I have my bachelor degree. So and I've been in the profession for over 15 years. So you're not going to vote me because you want the presence of a female. You vote, and the guy who and myself, we contested our race. Jacob Pale, he's a tough guy. He's very good. And then when I defeated him, he came to me, he shook my hand, he said, Melissa, it was a tough race. I think the margin was like between 8 and 10. So it was tough. It was not nothing that say it was based on sympathy to say I rigged it, or they say the whole group voted for me because I was female. No, they voted for me because they knew I was qualified. So every other woman in this profession, you are important, you are qualified, you can do it, and not because of these men. There will all be challenges. They will always say stuff to you that will make you to want to cry. Do it, let me go in the bathroom and cry when you finish wash your face and come out with a clear eyes. That when they see, they say, well, the other one are grand, you can't cry. Who say you can't cry? You can cry. But don't let it see your tears. When they bring it, you do it. So it is a very, very tough profession. It is a very tough one. And only the strong can make it. And the stronger ones are the women, but they don't know. But I'm telling you now, the women are the strongest when it comes to this profession. Not many men, not many they relying on us, but the women are the strongest ones. And you see, Winnie, congratulations, Winnie. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, there, Winnie.
Say her full name. Say her full name. Say her full name for
Winnie Sewa Jimmy. She is the first female managing editor at the Inquirer newspaper, and I'm so proud of her. She's very strong. She's tough. She's very, very tough. Let us tell Liberty there at the Liberia broadcasting system. I mean, the women are doing great. Thanks to Seattle Scott Johnson. Put all the women together, make them to know that they are very, very important and that they can make it. That it meant, you see, they're coming after us now, right? They need us more than we even need them. I'm telling you the truth. They need us more than we need them. So continue to do your best, women. I love you guys so much. Let's keep doing our best. We can do it, though. We can do it to the top. I've been there, done there from the start. Somebody who they have interest in journalism. I started as a corp reporter and ascended to editor, assistant secretary general, president of Liberia, and then vice president. Of course, any other woman can do it, Priscilla. That I can assure you of. Any other woman can do it. Remember, tough times don't last.
Don't last.
Tough people
do.
And we are the women. We're tough. And we will continue to last. As long as we put our mind and thought to it, we can do it.
Yeah. Oh my God, we really need to have you back. Oh my God, this is yeah. There's no time for you to even respond to Dennis. So I'm just going to just quickly wrap up and respond to this, Dennis, or because I think Melissa finished giving her closing statement. Why is the profession male dominated? How has that impacted? So the media industry is not only the media profession that is male dominated globally. But first, we're just going to stick to the media because we're talking about the media. But then it's according to this Harvard Review report for last month, or was it July report that I received because I'm subscribed with them. Globally in news stories, women only appear as subjects in mere 25% of television, radio, and print media content. In comparison, men dominate the remaining 75%. This is global, based on a Harvard review. Recognizing the gravity of this challenge, the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, took a proactive approach by initiating a 50-50 project to tackle the issue of gender representation in the media. So this ambitious project set the goal of achieving 50-50 gender representation every month in BBC shows and teams. A significant number of BBC shows and teams, totaling over 500 of the program, have rallied around this initiative. It was one person idea, said, no, I got to reach 50-50 on my program, 50-50 women representation. And now, according to the Harvard Review, 500 of the programs showcasing their commitment to improving gender balance in media content. As of April 2019, the impact of that 50-50 project was undeniable, with an impressive 74% of English language programs involved for a year or more, reaching a milestone of having 50% or more female contributors on their shows. This notable progress demonstrates how proactive efforts can yield tangible improvements in gender representation in media content. So the success of this 50-50 project has shed light on three key lessons that are relevant to any manager or leader aiming to promote diversity, equality, and inclusion within their organization. One, start with yourself. Melissa keep talking about Philip Wisse. Philip Wisse, he encouraged me. He had respect for me. He allowed me in the space. He mentored me. And that took her a long way. First, it was double. Who said, we will train you? So you see, along our journey, there is always someone. That's why when I'm talking on New Day, I say, your stance you take today, posterity will judge you tomorrow. Somebody's going to mention your name. This Harvard Review is saying it starts from you. It's not enough to just ask the question, why is the profession male dominated? Because it's not. We know our world is male dominated. That's what the patriarchy is about. And that's what we're trying to change. So it says start with yourself. Initiating change begins with personal commitment. Individuals must take the initiative to introspect, think, and examine your own biases and behaviors to be effective advocate for diversity and gender equality. So, what is your bias? If I bring woman here, she will not do it right. That is the internal bias we have, but we don't question men competence, but we second guess women's competence because that's what we've been socialized to do. The second one, follow the data. There are three they advise to do. First, take the step yourself, start with yourself. The second one, follow the data. Data driven decision making is paramount, not your feeling. Because you work with two women and you say, like the report I did last Sunday, the program I did last Sunday, somebody say they work with some women, they in authority. So we don't need to advocate because now women are in power. No, follow the data. Data driven decision making is paramount in identifying and addressing gender imbalance. Regularly monitoring progress, tracking diversity metrics, and analyzing data help in assessing the effectiveness of intervention. Then last, believe in others' ability to change. Building a culture of inclusion requires placing trust in others' capacity to change. So that's why we're saying here on New Day, there will be change. I get people tell me, what is he doing over there? That the age or something, you think you will change your new day or new day. They think the world being like that, that's how it will be. And I continue to believe that we will change. So that's a belief in others' capacity to change. At the end of it, the gender representation challenge within the media industry is not confined to a single organization. Instead, they are a global concern that necessitate a collective effort to change how media reflects the world. So it's a collective effort, my dear. Melissa shared her experience. It took a guy or two. And today, she's at this level. At the end of the day, it's not that they gave her permission, but it's like the war positioned them, our society positioned them in that place. So she met them there, they had to make the space. Let's continue to make the space for each other, and we will have a new day. Then we'll leave a better day for the next generation. Thank you so much, my friend and sister Melissa. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us today. And yeah, it's just been an honor knowing you. We didn't even have time for me to go into how after Melissa came for a Humphrey Fellowship, and then she called me from Liberia and said, girl, you need to apply for this fellowship. I'm here today in the US because the girl wouldn't leave me alone. Say, I'm learning this and you need to come and learn it. I'm like, yeah, leave me alone. So after her, then Eva Flomo came, but she still didn't give up. She said, you need to apply. So after I dragged on, I finally did. So I came after Eva, after Melissa came, and then she was sent to Maryland, the journalism school there, and Eva Flomo, right?
Yeah,
And
you
then
know.
I was sent to Arizona State University to the journalism school. Yeah. And the universe are just working out. We are still making impact in our respective career path. So thank you. It's been a joy knowing you, Melissa, and I continue to just benefit from the fountain of being connected to you. Together we will leave a better legacy for the next generation.
Thank you
It's a
so
new
much,
day.
Priscilla. It's nice having you as a friend and sister. And thank you so much for bringing me on your program.
Of
And
course. Of
it's an
course.
honor. Thank you so, so very much.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
I'll
audience.
see you there. Bye.
Bye, Melissa. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. All right, audience. So that's it. Next Sunday, we'll continue to talk and bring people on here, women to share their experiences and their achievement. I'll talk to you next Sunday. Until throughout the week, examine your biases. Let's renew our mind about girls and women and have a better world for everyone. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.